everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Abhishek Mishra, and I'm the Product Operations Lead at Google. Today, I'm extremely honored to welcome Pravrajika Divyanandaprana Mataji to Talks at Google. Mataji is a monastic member of Sri Sarda Math India. She is well known for her clarity of thought and lucid way of exposition of Yoga Vedanta philosophy and how it relates to conventional sciences. Mataji has been invited to speak on this topic at various prestigious universities internationally and has traveled extensively on speaking engagements. She also teaches a course on Yoga Vedanta every summer at IIT Delhi. The courses are available for free on YouTube. In today's talk, Mataji will discuss her book, The Science of Happiness According to Yoga Vedanta. We will explore the philosophical, psychological, neurological, and essential aspects of happiness, thus identifying the connection between yogic sciences and mind management. So, before we begin, a quick housekeeping announcement. Towards the end, there will be an opportunity to ask questions through the chat feature on YouTube. So, if you do have questions, feel free to put them on the chat as we go. So, let's get started. Namaste, Mataji.
Namaste.
Welcome to
Thank
Google.
you. Thank you for having me here.
No, the stage is yours, Mataji. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be at Google, sharing my thoughts with all of you, and it's going to be regarding the book Science of Happiness, and of course, all the content that has gone into this book. We're going to discuss something of that for the next 20 minutes, after which we will have your questions. When it comes to the science of happiness, I don't think there's anybody on this planet who would deny a subject like this, because it's something we are all aiming for. It is everybody's goal to derive the maximum happiness that is available to us in this, through our activities, through our thoughts, through our work, through everything we do. So we will be discussing some very important aspects of the science of happiness. I have put all of this into this book, which you just saw. This is The Science of Happiness According to Yoga and Vedanta. This is actually a series of talks given at IIT Delhi as part of a course on the science of happiness. It was the BEV 731 course at IIT Delhi, delivered in 2018, August 2018. So the lectures were compiled into this book because after we floated the course, there was a whole lot of interest on this subject, and so many mails and so many people wanting to correspond with us and trying to get this material and try to understand the yogic and Vedantic approach also towards a comprehensive understanding of happiness. And that is why we published this book. The contents of this book cover a variety of fields, I would say. You have a lot of neuroscience here, you have positive psychology, you have philosophical systems being discussed, and you have yoga psychology. All of it in one book, because we are going to dive into a very comprehensive study of happiness as a science. Because as you all know, happiness is a subjective experience. How do you convert a subjective experience into a science? So the attempt has been made here in trying to understand what are the factors that actually contribute to keeping the mind happy, and how can we enhance those factors. What are the neuroscience perspectives to it, and how do you actually correlate neuroplasticity with yoga psychology. And then so you have the yogic and Vedantic views of happiness also. You also have a chapter on everyday paths to joy, which is how do we make all this practical, and all this level of knowledge, how are we going to use it in our everyday life, and use it on an everyday basis. What are the things we can adopt, the attitudes we can adopt, the understanding we can adopt in order to make this an everyday thing. So this everyday paths to joy, I would like to start with that, because many people have a very theoretical understanding of happiness and joy, but in their own life they are struggling with a huge amount of sorrow. And today's mental health issues, especially, point out to the fact that we must be able to convert all this understanding into a completely practical format. So I would first like to, that is why, dwell into this, the everyday paths to joy, which many of us miss out in our in chasing the most important aspects of life. We miss out the everyday paths to joy available to us. So if you actually go into this book, you will see one of the most, you can say, practical, down to earth paths to joy lies in having a grateful, accepting mindset. So if we are grateful on an everyday basis, and what is called savoring today, what it means to say is appreciation with gratitude, with gratefulness. If we have this attitude of mind, and if we can savor every experience, make our mind such that it is able to savor every little bit of positivity in our lives and be grateful for it, that brings a lot of positivity into your mind. So one of the essential everyday paths to joy lie in appreciation with gratitude, a positive mindset, a positive language, and deep appreciation for all the good things in life. So I would always give the example of food to my students. If a if a plate of food has to come before you, have you ever thought how many people have worked for it and have made it possible? Are you grateful for all that energy and action which has come to you now as food? So this special attitude of mind will bring a whole lot of positivity and a sort of serene joy into our hearts. So this is one thing which we can do on an everyday basis. I would say the second everyday path to joy is finding your flow. I'm sure uh, today there's a lot of understanding, a lot of knowledge about this concept of flow. It's a very important concept given to us by Zig Mihaly. Something along these lines you also find in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, where a complete intellectual engagement into something, complete absorption of mind to such an extent that you lose sense of time. This is very important for the feeling of inner contentment and happiness. So we must be able to find our flow. Many young people find it in intellectual pursuits or even in sports. They find it in music, in art forms, performing arts. There are a whole lot of things in which you can find your flow, but it is important to find your flow so that you don't lose this essential, absorptive, immersive aspect of life. And once you have found your flow, you will see your energy. You don't have to train yourself towards it, it just flows towards that. And it results in deep, intellectual, spontaneous engagement and leaves your mind completely refreshed after the experience. So, this is another very important everyday path to joy. Connect with your flow. The third point I would like to mention here is finding deep meaningfulness in life contributes a lot to your inner happiness. See, we all understand this in a way because we don't do any action which is not meaningful, isn't it? We really do something only with a purpose. If you have a deeper purpose, deeper meaning to whatever you do, you don't actually require entertainment to keep you happy. So this is a huge psychological fact which is accepted today in a big way because even in positive psychology you have the equation H is equal to P plus E plus M, which means happiness is equal to pleasure plus engagement plus meaning. We have understood the importance of this meaning in our lives. If we are doing something which is sufficiently meaningful, you don't require anything else to keep you happy. And it was clearly seen that if you have enough meaning to your life, you can actually dispense with even pleasure and engagement. So, this is a very interesting psychological fact. Another everyday path to happiness, I would point out, is, keeping a very, very healthy state of body and mind, a healthy physique. If you just want to change a mood, uh, you can just go for a long run, jog somewhere, or climb up a mountain, play tennis, play squash, go for a swim. Just these kind of activities, physical activities, will immediately change your mental mood. So this is the relationship between mind and body. If you find yourself brooding over something or not able to get out of some kind of a thought current, or you know, overthinking about something, worrying about something, fearful, then just do some intense physical activity, and you will see your mood is replaced. It gets changed. So this is a very important another everyday path to changing our moods and finding our joys in everyday life. The second thing is, I mean, the next thing is uh, a general attitude of optimism, what we call positive thinking today. I can't tell you enough about the miracle of positive thinking, because if you just change your mental dialogue, uh, sometimes most of the time it's monologue. If you just change that into something very positive all the time, you will see that the experiences of your life become positive. This is so magical that it falls under the law of attraction, but it's something more than that. The miracle of positive thinking. You just have to focus on generating positive thought in every situation. And what you repeat, you will become that. What you repeatedly feel in your mind, you will start experiencing that. And what you repeatedly imagine, you will actually create that. So these are some of the important principles of positive thinking. A mindset which is oriented towards this uh, naturally produces joy every day. It results in a joyous living without even too many external factors to keep you engaged and happy. So you see, with all these everyday paths to joy, you can understand one fundamental thing, that happiness is a state of your mind. If you are able to generate a particular level of mental awareness and mental engagement, and you have enough meaning to your actions and thoughts, you will stay happy, you will stay calm, you will produce what is called contentment within your heart at any given moment of time. So you see, these are all factors which are in our hands. And so many of our philosophies, religions have told us about this, that it has to do with your mind. Happiness is a state of your mind. So take care of your mind first. That's so very important. So these are some of the practical aspects of the science of happiness. But there are a whole lot of other things which have been discussed in the science of happiness, which I would now like to dwell upon. First and foremost, we have extensively discussed the levels of happiness available to the human being. See, this is everybody's experience, so I don't actually have to explain it. But there are different levels of happiness. There's an actual ladder of happiness available to us, to our experience. The first rung of the ladder is the sensory level of happiness available, the happiness you get through the senses. You get through seeing good things, hearing good things, touching good things, tasting good things. So this is the first, just described as the first rung of the ladder in yoga philosophy. Beyond this, you have the nature of the sensory. Why it's called just the first rung of the ladder is this experience is very very transient. It doesn't last even for a few seconds. It passes away very quickly. So something so transitory cannot be given permanent value. This is the idea. And so you have higher and higher levels of happiness. So the problem comes in human life when we try to maximize happiness only at one rung of the ladder without climbing the ladder of happiness. So they will tell you immediately that the next rung of the ladder lies in mental happiness. You see, happiness born of beautiful thought, wonderful emotions, a very positive orientation of your will. This will give you greater happiness than merely eating a ice cream cone or having something you like. So that level of happiness is something higher. Is the happiness born of thought? It's the happiness born of you see, you write a beautiful poem. For hours together, you will feel so saturated within yourself, so contented, so happy for no reason. is just because something creative has emerged from you. So this is the happiness born of thought and of beautiful emotion. You love somebody, even when you love your pet, you know how much of happiness that gives you. So this is the state of the second rung of the ladder, which is mental happiness generated by thought, emotion, the proper orientation of the will, all this. Then you have the next rung of the ladder, which is an intellectual level of happiness, you can say, that is higher than mere mental happiness, because when the intellect is deeply absorbed into something, it generates flow. High level, what is called intellectual engagement, where you lose all sense of time. So the generation of flow leaves you completely satisfied. After the experience, you realize that you were in a state of bliss, state of spontaneous absorption. So this is a very important state in the development of the human mind. And this has been given so much value because for the first time you understand that deep levels of happiness are possible in the human experience. So that's why the importance of finding our flow. And then you have the next rung of the ladder. After this level also, that is the happiness which comes out of service activities. Whenever you make somebody happy, you know, this is a mysterious law of the universe. At once, your mind will become very glad. You just feel the goodness of life in your own heart. So you have this beautiful statement, you know, in the imitation of Christ. It is so beautifully put there that the joy of a clean conscience is more than the joy of any philosophy. So this is the beauty of service activities, community service activities, kindness, compassion, just doing something on an everyday basis to make somebody happy, to make the people around you happy. By doing that, you ensure your own happiness, your own mental balance, a feeling of deep satisfaction reigns in the heart. And for long time, you know, if you just eat an ice cream cone, it's a very short term happiness. But when you indulge in service activities or in flow activity, then it results in long term happiness. It is something which stays in your memory, and it's going to goad you towards higher and higher forms of happiness. It is something which you cannot forget. It becomes like that because it's a very glad state of mind that you experience as a result. So this is the next rung of the ladder, the level of service. But the highest rung of the ladder of happiness lies in what we call meditation, or that transcendental state where you are totally captured, or you can say absorbed, immersed in a very high level of awareness, in a transcendental level of consciousness where the mind does not flit from object to object. It is a meditative state. A meditative awareness is generated, which leaves you with complete happiness. So, those of you who have practiced meditation, you will know what I mean. Why is it that people hunger after spiritual practices and meditation? It's only because the meditative state, you can only place it as the highest rung of the ladder. It leaves you completely satisfied. It leaves you in bliss. It leaves you in rapture and ecstasy. So, this is why this state has been highlighted in all spiritual practice and religions because they always assured us of a you can say, superlative level of happiness there for the simple reason the mind has touched its source. What do I mean by that? The mind has touched a level from where it emerges and indulges in all these activities. When it touches that source, it becomes imbued with a very high level of awareness or consciousness, you can say, pure consciousness, what we say, and that leaves it simply sparkling with joy, blissful by itself. And this is not due to any, you know, it's not a synthetic joy, it is not due to an object, it is joy inherent to the self, the bliss inherent to your true nature, and that just comes out of your personality, that comes and touches your mind. So your mind becomes extremely happy. you sort of radiate a level of peace and happiness, which is infectious. People can understand it. So that is why the rung of meditation is placed. That's the highest rung of the ladder of happiness, because the meditative awareness generates a very, very subtle transcendental form of joy, which is to be experienced, to be known. So now yoga psychology tells us that if you want to maximize, optimize happiness in your lives, you must climb this ladder. Don't get stuck at just one level and try to maximize your happiness there by collecting more objects. You can't do that. In fact, if you try to maximize happiness at the sensory level by collecting more objects around you, you will be put on the hedonic treadmill, which means uh, you just indulging without satisfaction, and the mind is extremely restless, jumping to the next object of joy because it doesn't get any form of stable satisfaction anywhere. So in order to understand this experience, you must see for yourself the sensory level of happiness is only the first rung of the ladder. You can't try to maximize happiness there. You just climb the ladder. You go to the next level, the mental level of joy. Then you go to the intellectual absorptive joy. Then you go to the level of service, selfless service, which brings great joy to others, that will leave you profoundly affected, profoundly blissful. And finally, the highest is the joy of the meditative awareness. This actually cannot be explained because it is a complete state of absorption, a samadhi like state, you can say. But whatever it is, it leaves you blissful within yourself. So these are the levels of joy available to the human experience. So this book contains all of this. And if you climb the ladder, you yourself will understand that, happiness can be increased proportionately in our lives. In fact, yoga is nothing but, by yoga here I mean meditation, the practice of meditation. It is nothing but a way to, raise the bar of your happiness through enhanced awareness. Yoga is, in fact, the science of raising, giving you the experience of the highest happiness, raising the bar of happiness in your experience by raising your awareness, deepening your awareness. So, all of these ideas you will find in this book, Science of Happiness. In addition to this, we have a lot of psychological facts which have been put into this book. Like, for example, what is conditioning? How does conditioning affect your thought process and as a result, your happiness? The different determinants of happiness in your life, what positive psychology says about long lasting happiness. And then you have a thorough understanding and study of the concept of flow. Then you have the source of happiness. Why is spiritual knowledge or the knowledge of the self considered to be the source of happiness? There's a deep penetration into that, drawing examples from the Upanishads. I'm sure you know what are the Upanishads. The essential knowledge portion of the Vedic literature is what we call Vedant or the Upanishad, and a lot of information from yoga psychology, yogic texts like Patanjali Yoga Sutras. All of this have been put into this book. Further on, you also have a deep study of the technology of happiness, how your mind and your awareness contribute to your happiness. So this fundamental technology is something we should understand, because uh, finally you can see this very clearly as an insight in your meditative state, that happiness is an exponential function of your awareness. The deeper your awareness, the more happy you will be by yourself. And the more cluttered your mind, which means the lesser your awareness, the denser the mind, the lesser the awareness, the more you require objects to keep you happy and engaged. So you see, happiness is directly proportional to your awareness. So then, how to generate this clarity of awareness, these states of mind? For that, we have a complete discussion on meditation, meditative states, the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali, the meditative techniques of the Upanishads, and a thorough understanding of what is attention. How exactly do you meditate? What exactly is the yogic definition of attention? The importance of mind management and emotional maturity in order to attain these higher levels of meditation. All this also has been discussed, and the research methodologies in subjective sciences have also been discussed. Because this is actually a science, and it has its own research. If you see, in many universities in India, Vedanta is considered a science of consciousness, and yoga psychology is provides you the techniques, the technology of consciousness and happiness. So all this you will find as part and parcel of this book. Further on, there is a chapter on existential inquiry and meditation. So, how exactly Vedanta employs methods to take you into the knowledge of pure consciousness, and then the different kinds of meditation. Finally, you have a chapter which summarizes or recapitulates the entire understanding of happiness that we have passed through. And um, when you come to this chapter, you will already be acquainted with some of the most essential aspects of, you can say, modern psychology, philosophical systems, neuropsychology, and positive psychology on how to generate sustained and complete levels, higher levels of happiness, how to remain there in those states, and how to make them part and parcel of your life, which means how to put this entire thing into practice. So a complete hold over all this will come just by going through all these thoughts. I would like to tell you that you see, the creation of this book was out of the necessity of studying happiness in depth, not just in terms of pleasure oriented activity. That is considered, as I told you, only the first rung of the ladder. But what does deep level happiness and satisfaction mean, and how does it enhance or ennoble human life? How it becomes one of the determinants of human evolution? Because when you're happy, you function best, you will work at your optimal best. So how to keep you happy all the time and at a deeper level, how to help you manage your mind so that these states are possible. So this is the entire focus of this book. And I can tell you this, that a whole lot of intellectuals from all over the world actually made me produce this book. I was, in the first instance, I didn't have the time to write this book, but I got a lot of help, and I got a lot of encouragement from people all over the world, professors, philosophers, men of science, physicists, and the entire IIT faculties, faculty group. So all of them encouraged me to bring this out. And today it is in the form of a book in front of you. It's available on Amazon.India. So it is a complete study of the science of happiness, which comprises, I mean, encompasses its entire philosophical, psychological, spiritual, and practical aspects. So I think it is a book useful to young and old alike. A whole lot of people are studying this book, and that's why I have a heavy correspondence only based on this book. Actually speaking, a lot of it is based on meditative practice and an understanding of happiness from the first person perspective. Let me make this clear. These are not thoughts borrowed from the scriptures or from third person experiments. They are from the first person perspective. How does your mind itself understand happiness when it is in a state of deep quietness, calmness? How will it understand happiness, and how will it enhance happiness? So it's a study of that. It's a research based on, it's a book based on first person research. This is what I want to tell you, because I am a nun, and I do a lot of contemplation. The book is a result of contemplative practice and understanding. So I hope it will make a lot of sense to people in the modern world, those who want to dive deep into the science of happiness. Thank you for having me present this introduction to the book here. And thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful, fantastic talk. I, for one, will certainly start thinking about happiness differently now. One thing to know, like, obviously, I have a bunch of questions for you already. But first thing I wanted to start about is you mentioned yoga and Vedanta. So
Yeah.
how do these relate to modern world? Like these seem to be like an ancient philosophy. How do they relate?
Right. So that's a very beautiful question. See, why is it that we are studying Yoga Vedant, which are very ancient philosophies? In fact, the Vedant is more than 5,000 years old. It's the philosophy of the Upanishads, the knowledge portion of the Vedas, which is at least 5,000 years old. And the yoga psychology was codified, I mean, the Yoga Sutras were codified in 2nd century BC. So that is also a fairly old text. So why is it, how is it relevant today, and how are we drawing insights from that? See, if you actually look into the subject matter of these books, the Upanishads or the Yoga Sutras, you will see they are talking about consciousness. They are talking about human consciousness. At once, this makes the subject matter relevant to our interest in consciousness studies today, into contemplative psychology, which we are studying today. So this is how the relevance comes about. You will be surprised to know, every morning after my meditative practices, I take up the Upanishads or Yoga Sutras with the commentary, and I just dive deep into that. And when I do that, my mind is, I can't tell you, bursting with energy and enthusiasm and joy. I can't explain it why that happens, but it's just that there are such deep insights in these books. And if you have found a meditative connection with what they are trying to say, because we hold the Upanishads to be the revelations of rishis, if you can get in touch with that rishi mind, you will understand this is very deep level knowledge. It's of the nature of a revelation, and revelation about the nature of my own consciousness. That's the beauty of it. So automatically, you see, this piece of literature becomes part of the science of consciousness. Just recently, I was on a trip of various US universities which had invited me for talks. And there, this is what I told them, that, you see, when we do consciousness studies, we should also take into consideration the understanding of pure consciousness or consciousness in itself, not the contents of consciousness like thought, emotion, whatever your beliefs, your will, not all that. Just bare awareness, pure awareness. This is essentially, what we call self knowledge, knowledge of my uh, unalloyed being. So if I can catch that in meditation, and if we can convert that into an understanding, a science of consciousness, it will be a huge contribution to modern science, isn't it? So that is
Uh,
why I'm telling you, these ancient philosophies are very much part and parcel of modern thought, and they are being accepted like that everywhere. In fact, if you read Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they are so small, they will come in one A4 page, the entire. But you go into the commentaries on it, they are huge volumes, such thick volumes, and what insightful ideas they present, because they are all like understood and being interpreted from the meditative state. And the entire understanding of mind management, the ways of the mind, how to control mind, what is an emotion, what is thought, what is the connection between the two, what is attention, all of this has been covered.
that
So
is
how so you can understand how relevant it is to modern science.
it, totally, yes, exactly. I've
Yes.
I've heard there are a lot of studies going on in consciousness studies, and they refer
Yeah,
to
that's
these
right.
these texts as one of the things. Um, Moving on to the next question, I think it seems like after reading the book, a lot of the unhappiness, if you will, comes arises from us identifying with body, mind, and the external objects. The and the whole thing is about de-identifying from these so that you can stay at a higher level. However, when I'm awake and I'm talking to you right now, I'm using my body and mind. So is it ever possible to de-identify?
Yes, that's a good question, very Vedantic question. See, you don't de-identify through a thought process. How do you de-identify? You just drop body consciousness. In fact, if you see it in your everyday life, when you're deeply absorbed into something, your body consciousness is very, very meager, very minimal. You are not even conscious of you being particularly like Abhishek Mishra, It's just your deep level mental engagement that is dominant in your mind, whatever you are doing. So, what Patanjali Yoga Sutras and all these scriptures are telling us is what is the meaning of dropping body consciousness? Not that you cease to identify with the body, it holds no more dominion over your mind. You have generated a level of awareness that goes far beyond being just conscious of the body. So, this is the meaning of transcending body consciousness or not being body conscious.
Thank you.
Because,
Thank you. That's
yes, it's the level, your level of focus has shifted to a different level altogether, the extent of your focus. So, naturally, body consciousness will drop, deep flow will be generated, and you just grasp whatever you are concentrated on. That's the idea.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so in the sense, like there are two aspects to it. One is like I control my mind management. So everything I can. Then
Right,
there is like, then in that case, how should I handle the negative interactions? For example, if I interact with other human beings, and there's a
right.
lot of stuff that is thrown at me, technology, so much
Yes,
so much stuff happening outside. Um,
yes.
how?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the most important question. All of my students almost ask me this question. So, what we do in addition to imparting this theoretical knowledge is we train them in meditation also. The essential thing is the ability to manage mind and not allow mind to be carried away by the negativities that can fall on us, because the mind is constantly bombarded by a whole lot of stimuli from the outside. Now, if I have to manage all of that stuff, I must fundamentally be very stable within myself. Then, whatever input comes from outside, you know, I will be able to process that properly. I will be able to keep my focus very steady. I will be able to put attention on that which matters, and I will remain emotionally stable. So that this training only comes with meditative practice, because you are meditation is about handling the inner instrument. We call it antakaran in yoga psychology. It's the inner instrument. Whatever happens on the outside, it is objective to my experience, but my mind, my awareness, it is my being. Mind is the instrument through which your awareness expresses itself in the outer world. So I must first learn the art of controlling or managing mind. So for this, you have enormous ideas. I would tell, I can tell you in all these scriptures, the most fundamental idea is learn to stabilize yourself within yourself first. See, any thought comes to my mind, any sensation passes through, I should be able to see it objectively. If you can do this much, you have put a distance between you and any other factor coming into your mind, anything impinging on your mind from the outside, anybody's comment, anybody's negativity, it will not affect you, because you have effectively put a distance between myself and the happenings in my mind. So this is a possibility. This you can perfectly do. But you require a training to do this. Meditative practice begins this way. Understand that the self is watching the states of the mind. You are watching the states of your mind. That's how you know the content of your mind. So if this can be practiced, you develop a very stable inner state of mind, which is full of awareness, where is a vantage point from where you can see all the different things happening in your mind. So at once you develop a great control or balance within yourself.
And so you mentioned meditation, obviously. Like,
Yes.
what does it mean when did you say meditation? Does it mean like, okay, I need to quit and go sit in, find a cave and sit in meditation, or can I do this right now at this moment, every day?
Yeah, of course, you can do it right now in Google. You can take it from me. I never tell my students to run away to any cave, because I always tell them wherever you go, you will take your mind with you. That's one companion you can never leave behind. Your mind will always go with you. So if you can do it in a Himalayan cave, you can very well do it in a Google office. You can do it anywhere on earth. And all you have to do is understand the fundamentals of the meditative process. I have a video called All About Meditation. So I would recommend that one to the people who are watching this show, because All About Meditation will give you a complete summary of what is required to prepare yourself for the meditative process and what exactly is meditation. The art of fixing attention so as to take you into the transcendental level of awareness. This is meditation. So that has been covered entirely in that video.
Perfect. And I know we have like a few minutes left. Probably last few questions. Um,
Yeah.
so in my daily life, we are in Silicon Valley. We go about the day. Any pointers on how we can incorporate this mind management into our daily life, for your
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah. Uh, Practically, what can be done is at least 15 minutes of every morning, if they can be devoted to some level of what I call yoga. By yoga, I mean meditative practice. I don't mean just the asanas or pranayama. I mean the practice of concentrating at one point every day at the same time at the same place. If you can generate this meditative mind for at least a few seconds every day in this meditative practice, just devote 15 minutes every morning towards this, you will see a whole lot of clarity will come into your mind. This is the first thing I would suggest. The second thing I would suggest is, physical fitness very important even for the practice of yoga. So there are very many youngsters who ignore this because we have such a hectic lifestyle. We ignore that, but taking enough physical exercise, making sure your food is really, sattvic and energizing, and making sure that good stuff, everyday good thoughts go into your mind. This is fundamental to this kind of practice. So if this can be made a habit, habits are something you have to like willfully do, and then it becomes automatic. So if you begin this way, then I think it's a huge gain. Over a period of time, you'll see the mind naturally yearns for a little more meditation, good reading, all this. So it's a way
And
of
how
life.
much and how much time does it take, Mataji? Like, for some people it takes short time, for some people long time. How much time would it take?
See, time is relative. As if your mind comes to a real standstill, then you can do it in a few seconds. And if the mind is really not that, if the mind is not doesn't get still quickly, you may require even half an hour, 1 hour. So it will depend on well, the capacity of your mind to stand still. A lot depends on that. This state is so precious, I can't tell you. All knowledge is uncovered in this state. All understanding comes in that state. As long as the mind is flitting from object to object, you will not understand the fundamental truths of your own existence. It will be objectively engaged, please see. But when your mind touches stillness, becomes quiet, and you become deep, you're deeply aware but without a thought process. That's a magical state to attain. And that'll give you everything that you require to understand.
That
Yeah.
is, we're gonna end with that, the magical state where mind stays quiet.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
that's the biggest takeaway. Thank you, Mataji, for gracing us with your virtual presence, an eye-opening talk. For folks who want to dig deeper, you can buy the book online on Amazon or one of the Vedanta Society bookshops. The link is in the description of this talk. With that, we can end. Thank you, Mataji, for now.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.